it to you again. Nathan West, are you on?
Really bad. I went to the locker room, but laid down there.
Okay, guys. Oh, I'm gonna mute.
Mr. Morrison, can you test that YouTube link that I just sent?
It just got here.
Mr. Morrison, can you test that YouTube link that I just sent?
I just looked at it. It is working. I see you live. It just got here.
Hey, Brian, did you need me?
Yeah, Nathan, we're seeing some individual students signing in on the Zoom link, which in and of itself won't concern me if we don't max out on spaces. But I also didn't know if maybe those students were using their device for the classroom to view it in a classroom.
Hey, Brian, did you need me?
Can you hear me, Nathan?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan, we're seeing some individual students signing in on the. Sorry, I've got too many things going on my computer, Nathan.
No,
We're just seeing several of your individual students logging in on their device versus maybe a teacher logging in and projecting. I'd be concerned that we're going to run out of space.
Yeah, I mean, if we run out, we can make some adjustments. Some of them,
Quarantined?
yeah.
Okay, I'm actually going to send you a YouTube link for the quarantined folks.
Okay.
I'm going to do that right now.
Can you send that to Paula too? And then we can forward it out to those.
Send it to who?
Paula
What's email?
Paula Lamandola. P. Lamandola.
P. Lamandola?
39 participants right now, so we're okay at this point.
Okay, yeah, I think we're okay right now. I just sent it to you and Paula.
Okay.
Nathan. So, yeah, I don't know that we're going to have an issue, but just in case.
Yeah, that's fine. We can send them that YouTube link and they can switch over.
Okay.
Mr. Morrison, are you sending that to the remote students, that YouTube link?
I'm sending it to teachers to send to the remote learners.
Okay, thank you.
I just sent it. Go get it. Mike Smith, are you in yet on the live feed?
Good morning. Oh, I think I might be.
Good morning,
I
Mike.
can't. There we go. How we doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there.
Good.
For sure. Let me kill this light. It's kind of bright. Hold up a second.
Randy Steerwalt's computer needs to be muted, please.
Brian, you guys hanging in there?
We are, yes, we are. Hey, give me just a second, Mike.
Yeah, no worries, man. I can sit here on mute too. I know you're gonna have people rolling in and all that stuff the whole
Yeah.
time, so it's no worries on my side.
Yeah, no, we're excited to get this going. So after many failed attempts to get it going.
Oh, you know something crazy is I've been speaking since 2010, and you're the only school that I've ever moved for weather. Period. And I've
Yeah.
flown I fly like 200, sometimes 250 days a year, and I've never missed for weather in a decade. And living in the Midwest, you know how it is. We're supposed to get Denver sucks, Chicago sucks, Minnesota sucks. Like we're supposed to not do well, but you guys, it was crazy because it's like, how far is Fredonia, Kansas from Lincoln? Like 7 hours, you know? But it was just like such a weird. Are you guys straight south of like Goodland and Atkinson and like that? Are you that far?
No, actually, if you're in Lincoln, you get on 75 highway and head straight south 4.5 hours, 5 hours.
So you guys are closer to like are you like Tulsa area? Like
Yeah.
north of that?
Topeka.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
halfway between Topeka and Tulsa.
I get it. I fully get it. We used to play in Tulsa, played basketball in college, and we used to go to Tulsa all the time. And so we would drive from Omaha to Tulsa and got real used to that drive down. But cool, man. Okay, I know where you guys are at. I know right where you're at.
Yeah. Cool. So,
Right
but
on.
we're just excited to get it going for sure. So,
Same, man. I'll hang here on mute. You just let me know when you're ready to roll.
Okay. I've actually got an introduction that I'll do here in about 1 minute. Maybe I'll wait probably 2 just to make sure everybody gets a chance to get in. And then I'll go through that introduction and then some thank yous for people that have donated to make this event possible. And then once I do, I'll say your name and then it's you.
Right on,
So-
partner. We'll be good to go.
Okay, and then after this, we'll have that 10:35 session. We're gonna start the links at 10:30, and then
Okay.
get our YouTube channel up on that one too, so we can show that out also. That one will have just a small group of students actually in the session with you,
Cool.
in hopes that we can have some dialogue possibly on
Mhm.
leadership, and however you kind of lead that, we'll just follow off that. You're the expert here today, so
Right on.
I'm
You want to
just-
do
I'm
a?
just- Go ahead.
Do you want to do a Q&A after this one too with everybody? Is that?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw
If
that-
you don't mind, and what I'll do is I'll
Oh,
just
love
kind of
it.
watch the box, and I'll moderate it a little bit, and I'll just tell the teachers when you're done, you can just say, hey, we're going to go to some Q&A, and I'll let them know how to put things into the chat box so that we can kind of filter through and look at some of the different questions.
Cool. That sounds great, man.
Yeah, but once you get going, I'm going to mute so nobody hears me, and then if you need me for anything, just say, Brian, wake up.
Cool. Right on. And it's cool if I do some screen share, show some videos of what we got going on
yeah.
and stuff. All that's part. All right. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yep. All right.
Right on, dude.
Very
I'm ready
good.
to rock. I'll let
The host mic so you can screen share.
say that.
Yeah,
Say that again.
if you can, Brian.
Do we need to make you the host mic so you can screen share?
Probably or co-host. I won't be able to mute people because I probably won't be able to see them just with the setup I've got here. But if I can just screen share and you guys can handle the rest of it on that side, that would be cool. Thank you.
Right,
Yeah,
you
IT.
should host now.
Yep, I see it pop up. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started, Mike, and I'll do my little introduction here and give some final instructions to everybody, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. So here we go. Good morning, Wilson County. We're excited to have each of you here today. It's a beautiful Kansas day outside. I know you all don't believe that, but yesterday 82, today I think the high is 41, and it's going to get colder as we go through the day. But hey, we're just excited about this day finally arriving for us. So we have 3 schools here in Wilson County that are participating with Mike Smith Live. We have Altoona Midway Jets, the Neodesha Blue Streaks, and the Fredonia Yellow Jackets. You can cheer for your school if you want, but we're just not going to be able to hear you. So we come together today, not in competition, though. This isn't about who's better on the court or on the field. This is a time for us as a county and all the 3 schools to unify together and be challenged by what Mike brings us today. It's about understanding our role and who we are and how we can make a difference, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of those that we encounter in the school, outside the community, in our families, just wherever we're at. So I'm very excited about this message that we're about to have. Before we get into that, though, I do want to take a moment to just give some thank yous to those that have made this possible for us today and allowing Mike to be here. First off, to our building principals and superintendents, thank you for allowing us to step away from academics for the morning and to focus on Mike's message. We understand that school nowadays is not just about academics, but there's a lot more that we need to be talking about with our kids and with our staff. And this is an awesome opportunity to do that. So aside from that, thank you to these following people for their financial contributions to make this happen. Altoona Midway School District, Fredonia School District, Fredonia Regional Medical Hospital, and Wilson County Interagency Coalition. There was also several private donors that have asked to not be listed by name for the donations that they gave towards this task. We truly appreciate these businesses and organizations and private donors for making this possible. And then also a huge thank you to Wilson Medical Center. Everybody should have received, or if you didn't, you just need to look at your teacher and say, why didn't you give me my free t-shirt? Because Wilson Medical Center provided t-shirts, about 1,000 t-shirts basically. So every student and teacher in the county would get a t-shirt for the rally today. So we're excited about that. Mike, if you want one, I just need an address. Don't share that in the chat box or you're going to get fan mail like crazy. But we are super grateful for them also. So with that, we're very excited and privileged to bring to you at this time our guest speaker, Mike Smith. Whether it is motivating students or employees to change the culture of their school or their workplace, or teaching others how to start and maintain successful brands and organizations, or showing others how easy it is to give back to the homeless and the less fortunate in their communities, Mike Smith Live has the experience and expertise to inspire others to be extraordinary. Mike is here today to share with you that your life isn't ordinary. You matter. Mike believes that what you will do with your life will boil down to one question: what do you want to be remembered for? Altoona Midway Jets, Neodesha Blue Streaks, Fredonia Yellow Jackets, please join me in welcoming into our Zoom rally the one and only Mike Smith.
There we go. Thank you so much, Brian. I always love it when everyone says the one and only Mike Smith, because there's legit 40,000 Mike Smiths in the United States of America. I have like the legit third most common name in our country, and so it always cracks me up. But anyway, I am so excited to hang out with you. And I just want to start by saying I realize that this school year and the way that we're doing this is so different and difficult, especially for all you younger kids who are going through this, and you seniors who lost a lot of things. Like, I just want to acknowledge, like, it's been tough and it's been hard, but I also want to say that in those moments, that's when leaders step up. That's when innovators step up. That's when creators step up. That's when true game changers in our community step up, is when things don't go right. And so I'm just going to kind of share with everyone a little bit of my journey, a little bit of my story, and why I love working with youth. And I have such a Midwest heart, and the fact that this is a bunch of small towns in Kansas just gets me super amped, because that's kind of my upbringing. And so I'm just going to share with you a little bit of my journey. If you have questions, and I don't care if this question is like, Mike, I'm struggling with this. Mike, I want to do this, but my parents don't think I can do that, or no one in my town believes I got, whatever you're thinking, hit that chat box, hit your teacher, hit me up at the end. I would love to answer as many of your questions as I possibly can. And so I'm just going to start in and kind of just chat here a little bit, but I'm going to start with kind of like my journey. And so, you know, growing up, we just grew up in Rapid City, South Dakota, and it was basically the neighborhood I grew up in was government housing. We lived just off of the reservation. And so I grew up kind of, both my parents worked. We didn't have a lot of money. There was 4 siblings, and we were just kind of that lower middle class family, just trying to figure it out. And I fell in love with skateboarding, and I fell in love with just kind of freedom. And I think some of you might get this growing up in a small town. Like, if your parents work at night and your older sister's raising you, and you're kind of like a crazy, stubborn kid, you never have a lot of rules. And so as a kid, I never had a lot of structure, and I never had a lot of rules. Therefore, being creative and just thinking outside of the box was kind of what I always leaned into, because I didn't have my parents saying, you have to do this or you have to do that. They were just trying to make it. And so when I'm 13 years old, I'm like skating, I'm into punk rock. It's like mid 90s. I grew up in like the sickest era of all time. You guys are all stealing our clothes now, and it's awesome because I just get to wear my old stuff. But I grew up in the mid 90s, and I'm like a skate kid. And then all of a sudden my dad sits us down and he's like, we're moving. And I was so hyped because my whole family's from Los Angeles. They're all from Venice Beach, California. So I was like, we're moving to the beach. I'm about to skate every day. Like, skating was invented there. Like, this is where surf culture's from. I was like, this is where we're moving. I was so stoked. And my dad sits there and he looks at us and we're like, all right, where are we moving? Like, are we moving close to grandma? We literally lived on Venice Beach. And he was like, we're moving to Imperial, Nebraska. And I'm like, you're looking at your dad and you're like, what is Imperial, Nebraska? And Imperial, Nebraska is a town of 1,800 people, no stoplight. There's over 100,000 cattle. The closest Walmart is 50 miles away. The closest Chinese restaurant is 45 miles away. And I am by far the weirdest thing that this town has ever seen. And so we go and we move halfway through my 8th grade year. So imagine like rolling into town, purple, crazy hair, words shaved into it. I'm wearing these like crazy skater clothes, and I come rolling into like straight up country living, mid 90s, Western Nebraska. This town's like infamous for football. And I come rolling in and it's like Green Day, Blink-182. I'm just like the product of my environment. And I was so different. And it was obvious right away in a small town. You know what it's like, whether you're the kid who's moved to a small town or you've seen a kid move into your small town. You know that moment when like a new family shows up and everybody's like, well, what is this? And we were so different. And so I kind of, my first year in 8th grade, I really didn't fit. Like, I just didn't have like a crew or a squad or a culture. And I've always wanted to be around people who wanted to do fun, exciting, enjoyable things. And so I never really like hopped in super hard with like the drug party crowd, because like that just wasn't my vibe. I never like hopped in super crazy with like the overt popular crowd who was like, you know, ever acted better than anyone else, because I knew I wasn't better than anyone else. And so I've always just floated and was in the middle. And all of a sudden, this happened to me. This will happen to a lot of you. But my freshman year, this magical science thing happened called puberty. And I went from 5'1", 101 pounds to 5'11", 140 pounds. And I literally grew 10 inches and gained 40 pounds in less than a year. And I did it because I did an insane amount of illegal steroids. And no, I'm just kidding. I didn't do any steroids. I was playing. I just wanted to see what people would say. So I didn't do any of that. I just grew. I got huge. I started eating my meat and potatoes, whatever. And I exploded. And I was like, all right, sports is an option. So I just dove headfirst into small town sports. And for whatever reason, everything I learned from skateboarding, like the physical abuse and just like how scared you have to be to try something new and how hard it is to learn something, I took all that, transferred over to sports. And by my junior year, I was a 4-sport varsity athlete, starting in everything. I was, on pace to set single season 3-point records at our school. Like I was just kind of doing my thing. I was always sort of a carefree, charismatic player, and I just sort of played wild. And I come home my senior year, right before my senior year is about to start, and my dad sat me down and he was just like, I don't know how to say this, but he was like, doctor said I got cancer. They say it's really bad. He was like, my diagnosis is really rough. He's like, I start chemotherapy next week. And my dad is like, probably like a lot of your fathers out there. He's like an old country dude, grew up in a sod house. He wears a double flannel. He'll wear a flannel over a flannel. Like we take family photos and we call them family photos. Like he is just an old school guy and he doesn't talk a lot, and he just sat down. He's like, I got cancer. I'll be all right. And he walked out and you're like, 16, 17-year-old kid and you're processing this thing. And I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I wanted my senior year to feel different and be different because everything at home was going to be different. And so I used to go to school every day at 6 o'clock in the morning to work out from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. I lived in the gym. I wanted to play college basketball and I just wanted that to be my life. And so my senior year, I'm like in the gym at 6 a.m. My dad's got cancer. I'm struggling with my identity. Your senior year is kind of weird anyway, because you're trying to figure out like what's next, but also what's now. And then my dad hit me with this cancer thing. And I just decided my senior year, I wanted it to be different. And that question of like, what do you want to be remembered for really popped into my head. Cause I started thinking about like when I was a freshman, some of the seniors who were there and it's like, what are they remembered for? And it was never really anything that awesome. Like it honestly wasn't. And to some of you seniors out there, as the clock is ticking down on what your legacy is going to be on your campus, I remember being a senior thinking about the seniors when I was a freshman. And I was like, other than sports or winning some games, like none of them were even that cool to underclassmen. Like a lot of us didn't even have like, they were really awesome to us experience. And so I knew my senior year I wanted to be different. So I show up at 6 o'clock in the morning one day and I just forgot my headphones in my locker. So I had to do that thing where you walk through the dark halls of your school at 6 a.m. and it's all weird and quiet and you think you're the only one there. And I'm like rolling to the senior hallway. I cut through the freshman hallway. I look over and there's like this little freshman dude just sitting in the halls, chilling all by himself. And I'm looking at this kid and my first thought is like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, why isn't this dude in bed? Like, what is wrong with this kid? But then I looked at him and I was like, oh, I know who this is. And it was this other kid from our town in the special needs class. And this kid just, I don't know how, he just came from a tougher upbringing and it was difficult for him at home. And it was really hard in our small town. And I just remember seeing him sit there and I did the thing that so many of us do. And it was, I just walked past. I left my head, I just like walked past, didn't say anything, grabbed my headphones, put them in, turned on my music, walked back past this kid for the second time. I'm like seeing him there. And in my head, I'm like, man, it must suck to be this kid. Went in that gymnasium. I stood there with my basketball and it was just like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to help people. I want to be about this kid. And so I was like, I'm just going to start. And so the next day I went back up there and it's 6 o'clock in the morning and he's sitting there again. And I put my hand out and I was like, hey man, like I'm Mike, like I'm up in the, I'm in the gym by myself. You're in the hall by yourself. Like it's dark here. Like, why don't you come kick it with me in the gym? Like grab your bags, grab your books. And the kid looked up at me, smiled and said, no. And I was like, do you know who I am? Like, what are you talking about? No. I was like, get out. Like, let's go do this. And he was like, no, I'm cool. So I walked off and I remember walking away being like, I don't want to be his friend anyway. Like, I don't really care. And so I walk off to the gym and I'm like telling me no. And then it hit me and I was like, I guarantee you, he thought just like I would have thought when I was a freshman of all those seniors that he was either going to be the end of the joke. He was going to get made fun of. I had no relationship with this kid. I'd never really met this kid. And I honestly just kind of cold started and was like, hey, why don't you come hop into my world? And he said no. And then the next day he said no. And literally for a couple of weeks, this dude told me no. I got so frustrated with it. I finally went home and I did the last thing on the planet any senior in high school wants to do, which is I tried to talk to my mom about it. I sat my mom down at the dinner table and I'm like, all right, mom, so there's this kid at our school. Like, I want to be his friend. He won't be my friend. I'm trying to talk to him. He won't talk to me. My mom's looking at me like I'm in kindergarten. I'm trying to explain the whole scenario to him. And I was like, I don't know why this kid doesn't like me. And it was like the second I said that phrase, I don't know why this kid doesn't like me, my mom flipped a switch and she was like, I'll tell you why he doesn't like me. And then she recounted my entire past of why I was not a good person. She was like, your father doesn't like you. Your sisters don't like you. Nobody likes you. You're mean to people. She just went on this like mom tornado rant of like, if you want people to like you, you got to start with character. They can't just like you because you're good at sports. And she hit me really, really hard. And you know how that is. I know a lot of you watching this know what it's like when mom or dad hits you with the truth bomb and you either got to get defensive and defend yourself, or you just got to listen. And my mom was right. So that next day I went to the school and instead of just like inviting him into my world, which I'm sure he was terrified of, I was like, what happens if I just kick it in his world? So I walked up and I just went and I seriously 6 a.m. just sat down. I sat next to him and I was like, hey man, I was like, I get it. Like, you don't want to come to the gym. Like, that's totally cool. I was like, what do you do here? Like, I'll just sit and hang with you. Nothing. We sat there awkwardly in silence for like 2 minutes. And then finally this dude looks at me and he's like, hey man, do you want to go to the gym? And I was like, I thought so. Like, let's go. So we walked to the gym we get there and this kid can't play. He can't dribble. He can't pass. He can't shoot. Like, he doesn't get the game of basketball. And I'm like, yo, man, at 6 a.m, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? And he told me he came to school every morning at 6 o'clock because he was waiting to eat the school's free breakfast. He would eat our school's free breakfast, and then he went to class, but he didn't go to class with us. He sat in one of those classrooms with all the other special needs kids, and nobody ever got to go talk to him. And he just lived back there all day long. Then he went back home on a bus, and he just repeated that every weekend. And he told me his story, and I remember sitting there like wanting to cry, and then being so mad at myself for not seeing this kid for the last couple of years. And it was like that confliction of like, I have failed and I have an opportunity. And so I just made a choice right then. And I was like, I don't care what this looks like my senior year. I don't care what it costs me. And I was like, but this kid's mine. Like, he's rolling with me. I'm putting him in my pocket, and this dude's going with me everywhere. And that's exactly the way my senior year went. I got home that night, drove over to his parents' house. I knocked on his mom and dad's door in that small little town, and I introduced myself. I shook their hand. I looked his mom and dad in the eye, and I was like, you can trust me. You can count on me. Like, I want to help your son. I care about your son. And I'm going to be around. And like, if you need something, just let me know. And from that morning on, literally the rest, and this wasn't like a one-time thing. I'm talking about for the rest of my school year. I picked him up at 6 o'clock in the morning from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. He's hanging out with me in the gym. He's sitting with us at the lunch table, or I'm going in his classroom and helping him on his homework projects if he had a bad day, or if something set him off and he needed someone to come talk to him. It wouldn't be uncommon for a teacher to come walking into my math room or my science room and be like, hey, he's having a rough day. Is it cool if you just come hang out with him in here? And I would just go sit in the special needs room with this dude because he likes Nintendo games and video games. I liked video games. He loved to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I had no idea what Yu-Gi-Oh! Was, but I was like, I'll play. And I just hopped into anything this kid was stoked about, I got stoked about. And this friendship formed and this bond formed. And it wasn't one of these like charity case relationships. And I think you'll get to this. I'll help you understand this a little bit. This wasn't some charity case relationship. This was like, I truly met my best friend. Like, I truly met the dude who made me laugh harder than anybody I'd ever hung out with. I'd hit a shot in a game, or I hit a huge game-winning shot to send the state tournament my senior year. And the only person that I wanted to hug first was little man, because he was just everything that I needed my senior year. And I fell in love with this kid. But then my senior year was not like any of your senior years. I don't even want to pretend. Your senior years are the craziest. This is the gnarliest senior year for anyone. Last year and this year, you juniors from last year are going through a lot. And my senior year rolled around, and I told you at the start, like, my parents didn't have a lot of rules for me and a lot of regulations for me. So my senior year rolled around, and everybody started hitting me with the like, what are you going to do next? And I remember being like, I don't know. Like, my mom didn't graduate high school. She dropped out as a sophomore and ran away. My dad didn't go to college. He graduated from the small town that we were living in, but he just didn't go to college. And so I was the first person in my family that was like, well, should I play college sports? Should I go to college? Should I not go to college? Like, I wasn't even sure what to do, and I didn't have a plan. And so like mid-April rolls around, and all my friends have scholarships at this point. All my friends decide where they're going to go to school. Mid-April rolls around. I haven't even applied to one college yet, and I've gotten an 18 on my ACT one time. And that's literally where I'm sitting, like April of my senior year. So I hit the panic button. I go into my guidance counselor's office one night because the night before I had seen this documentary on smoke jumpers. These are dudes who like jump out of helicopters and fight forest fires from the inside. And it was all about this like suit they could pull over themselves if the fire went over the top. And these guys were like, half of them are like burnt and gnarly, and their wives are talking. And I'm watching this documentary and I'm like, this is me. Like, this is what I was meant to do. Keep in mind, and I know you know what it's like in Kansas, there's no trees in our towns. There's no forest fires where we come from. It's just like windy cornfields and feedlot. Like, I'm not growing up like in a forest, for God's sakes. And so I go rolling into my small town guidance counselor's office. She's like 1 year away from retirement. I come in so excited. I'm like, Miss Y'all, I got it figured out. I was like, I'm gonna be a smoke jumper. I'm jumping out of helicopters to fight forest fires. And I could just like see it on her face. And she was like, that is a great plan B. She's like, let's find plan A. So she sat me down and she was like, what do you care about? And I was like, well, I care about people, and I care about skateboarding, and I really want to play sports in college, but I didn't take my academics serious. And my parents, like, I got to fill out this FAFSA thing I just heard about. Like, I am such a procrastinator, and I'm so far behind. And here's another thing. I never felt like an adult my senior year. Like, I know there's that moment when you're 18, and some of you out there, you type A 18-year-olds right now, like, you're more responsible as an 18-year-old in your school than I am today as a 30-something CEO. Like, I've always procrastinated, and I've always just like let stuff pile up. I'm sure some of you relate to that. So April, my senior year, I'm in the same boat. And so she's like, let's find plan A. So we applied to every single college in the state of Nebraska, and fam, I hung a goose egg. I got accepted into 0 colleges. I need you to understand what that feels like. Imagine applying to everywhere in Kansas. You're like a varsity athlete in 4 sports. You set your school records in track, and you've set 3-point records in basketball. You're applying to schools, and they're like, "Oh, your academics. Like, we're looking at your body of work." And this is an important message for some of you freshmen and sophomores out there. I paid dearly for not caring and not trying my freshman, sophomore, and junior year in high school. Like, some of you don't think it matters. Some of you don't care. Some of you are like, "I got a C, and C's get degrees." Like, I'm telling you right now, like the lack of academic effort that I put forth cost me a lot. And then I'll explain what happened. So you get accepted into no colleges. So you go into your school counselor's office. And so now I'm like hitting this, like, what do I do? Maybe I take a whole year off. Like, should I go work on an oil rig? Should I be an in-town volunteer firefighter? Like, what do you do? She was like, "No, we're not done here." So we started applying out of Nebraska, like our little state. We started applying everywhere, like Hutchinson, Kansas, to go play baseball. Like, I started applying to all these schools out of state, and I got accepted into this super tiny, super conservative, small little school in Wyoming. And I remember being like pretty bummed. Like, I was pretty bummed that my first yes was definitely not where I wanted to be. And my guidance counselor told me this, and I'm going to relay this to so many of you seniors right now. She was like, "Mike, it doesn't matter where you start. It matters that you start." And she was like, so many kids say, "I'm not going to college my freshman year. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to get a job." And they live in their parents' house, and they don't have responsibilities, and they're not doing homework, and they don't have all these like expectations, and they get comfortable and they get lazy. And if you build habits of getting comfortable and lazy, it's really hard to start chasing your passion. So I ended up going to this mad conservative, super small school in Wyoming. And lo and behold, 6 weeks in, because I got a big mouth and a lot of energy, I got kicked out. Really kindly, really politely, I got kicked out of that school because I wasn't the right fit. And I remember being like upset because I was like, this was my thing. This is where I was getting started. And one of the teachers over there was a big basketball guy, and he had seen me working out every day. And he was like, "I know a school in Omaha. I know the coach. Like, let's apply there. Like, let me help you apply." We applied and instantly got accepted into this other school. And my guidance counselor was right. I went from this like little school in Wyoming I didn't care about. Boom, I get a scholarship to go play basketball at this college in Omaha. It's second semester. So I come rolling in January, and there's already a team, there's already captains, there's already starters, there's already practice. They've already played some games. There's a new culture. And I come rolling in like long-haired surfer looking dude into this college, like rolling like I'm going to do something. And my college basketball coach takes me aside, and he's like, "All right." He's also the dean of students, which was unfortunate for me, but he comes rolling in and he's like, "All right, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?" We take academics really serious. And I still didn't know. I just knew that I wanted to help people and I wanted to have fun. And I didn't really care what the job was. I just wanted that to be like what I was doing with my skills. He looks at me and I'm like, "I just want to help people." And he goes, "All right, cool. Get in my truck." And I'm like, my mom warned me about people like you my whole life, dude. Like, I ain't getting in that truck. Like, what is this guy talking about? But this is like coach. So you're like, ah. So I get in coach's truck and we start driving to like the sketchy part of Omaha. Like, literally, I got to Omaha and everybody was like, "Go this way, avoid this way." 10 minutes later, I get in coach's truck and he took a right and we went straight that way. And so I'm like, got my old flip phone out from like the early 2000s, about to text my mom, like, "Yo, mama, I love you. Coach did it." Like, like I'm terrified. Like, where are we going? We pull up to this bridge and coach is just like, "Get out and walk." And he walked me 8 blocks to the top of this tall bridge in downtown Omaha. And he's like, "Smith, if you want to help people," he was like, "why don't you help them?" And I looked over the railing of this bridge, and living underneath this bridge was like hundreds of homeless people. Like, picture a tent city in Kansas City or a tent city in St. Louis. Like, you've seen these places before. Tent city in Oklahoma City. You've seen this place where like a lot of homeless people congregate. And he just drove me straight into the belly of it and was like, "All right, tough guy. Like, all right, big man. Like, you're going to talk about it, be about it." And like, what a great coach. What a great moment to just be like, no, actions are way bigger than words. So he drops me off at a bridge. Like, legit, he's like, "If you want to be a man, you got to do this one on your own." He's like, "Campus isn't far." And he drove off. So coach leaves. I'm 18 years old. I've been in college for a half an hour. And I'm like, "Well, all right." So I walk under this bridge. I put my hand out to the first homeless dude I saw. I was terrified. I didn't know what to say then. And I still never really know what to say. But I was just like, "Yo, my name is Mike." I was like, "I go to school right up the hill. How can I help?" And this homeless dude told me everything. He told me his name and his story and where he was from. He was a vet. He served our country. He honestly wasn't that much older than I was. He had a kid that he had lost. Like, he had all these issues. He came back with PTSD, but we didn't know how to define it as well back then. Then he tried to treat his PTSD with substances. Like, this dude had a really hard life. And he's like, "You know what I need right now, man?" He's like, "I just need some socks." And I didn't get it. I literally didn't get it. I was like, "What are you talking about, socks?" And he took off his boots and he showed me his feet. And here's what I didn't understand. Socks are the most requested, least donated thing in a homeless shelter. And the average amount of days a homeless person wears the same pair of socks is for 30 days. I want you to picture yourself wearing that same pair of socks for the next 30 days. Picture walking around and hitting a puddle and your sock gets wet or your shoe gets wet. And the only thing you can do is take it off to dry it out because you're literally homeless, but it's freezing outside. So you don't want to take your socks and shoes off. And he's like explaining this dynamic to me because it's January and we're both outside freezing our butts off. And I'm listening to this dude and I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, I can get you socks. I was like, I'll be right back. So I walk up to campus and I'm like, this isn't even hard. I just roll into our equipment room. And like, if you play sports in college, you know, you get free stuff. And coach had already given me a tour of the equipment room. So I roll into the equipment room. I see this giant box of Adidas tube socks for the girls volleyball team. But I was like, free, right? So I just take this box, walk off, and coach was like, where are you taking that box? And I was like, I'm helping people, sir. Like, I got you. And I just rolled under that bridge and I just made it rain tube socks that day. And you got to picture this. This isn't something I did once. This isn't something I did twice. This was literally the next 4 years of college. My coach got so sick and tired of me stealing everybody's socks out of the lost and found. I wouldn't even give people a chance. Socks hit that lost and found, and I was just like, yank, like those are mine. And I was just walking down to this bridge. We used to get a certain amount of tickets that you could give to friends and family to come to games. Nope, my family didn't show up to a single game when I was in college. My cheering section was mostly the homeless dudes living under bridges or the kids that I was working with for my after school program. Like that's who was in my friends and family section. My friends got so accustomed to me just like taking food out of our cafeteria, like working with the lunch ladies, whatever I could do. I just found simple, almost always free. That's the thing that everybody's got to understand. Like almost all of my ideas were free. Like I didn't have to go get money to help people. I just got food from our cafeteria because they were throwing it away. Most cafeterias throw away about 30% of what they cook daily. They're trying to prepare for, is the football dude going to eat 6 meals today or just 4? Like, we're not sure. Like they literally toss so much food away because they've got to prepare for how many kids are going to eat. And a lot of that food was hitting the dumpster on our college campus. And I was like, for no reason. I was like, I got it. And so I just worked out a deal with our lunch ladies and they were so grateful, but it didn't cost anybody any money. So I spent 4 years doing this. My senior year rolls around and I got hit with this crazy opportunity to go play basketball overseas. We made it to the national tournament. I was a first team All-American my senior year, could play, like I could hoop. And the national tournament, I played well. And this dude rolls up and he's like, we need a point guard in Ecuador. And I'm like, April, my senior year of college. No one in my family's ever graduated before. I'm a semester away from graduating. So I'm staring at go play overseas, chase adventure, chase this passion, or stay and do the logical thing and graduate college and get a sheet of paper and keep going. And so I did the logical thing and I dropped out of college and I went overseas and I did exactly what I wanted to do. And I got hurt real quick and I came back and everybody was like, what's he going to do next? Like, what's he going to do? And I was like, I never believed that a sheet of paper was going to define my career. And I want to pause when I say this. Some of you want to be a doctor. You can't just go like cut your homies up in the backyard to learn those skills and be like, I'm a doctor. Like you actually have to go to school to get those skills. Some of you want to be an accountant. Some of you want to be a teacher. Some of you want to be a dentist or a lawyer or, a business mogul, whatever. College is absolutely the right path for some of you. College absolutely might not be the right path for all of you. And that is okay. You got to hear it from me. I went to college. I was there for 4 years. I was academically eligible for 4 years. I just didn't finish because this incredible opportunity to chase the life I wanted was staring at my face. You get a chance to play basketball in Ecuador and you're like 21 years old and you say no to that? What kind of psycho are you? Of course I'm going. I went as soon as I could get there. And I got there and it was an awesome experience. I got to meet incredible people. I worked at an orphanage during the day and I played basketball at night. Basketball was my side hustle once I got there. Working in that orphanage during the day was my calling. That was why I showed up. Because every time you play overseas, you have to go get another job because you don't make anything. They give you like a free apartment with 9 dudes and $200 a week and some food. Like that's what playing overseas feels like. But the orphanage job, I didn't make anything there, but I got to work with people and it was so incredible. So I got hurt right away, came back, literally watched my friends graduate, was supposed to be on that stage, watched my friends graduate. And I just started doing what I cared about, started working with kids. I took jobs working as a summer camp counselor in California, teaching wake and skate camps in the mountains. I was working as an urban basketball clinic and coach in Omaha, teaching kids how to play basketball. And all of a sudden I took this job as a social worker and my job was to work with homeless runaway teenagers. This is literally 10 years ago, exactly. I was doing this. I was working with homeless runaway teenagers, trying to get them off the street. And I was like, my kids need more. And I'm sure growing up in Kansas, you feel this. Some of you have sat around on Friday nights and Saturday nights after you've driven up and down Main Street a million times, flipped a U-turn at the local abandoned hotel or around the gas station, having your friends pull over and park just so you can talk. Like you can only do that for so long before you get bored to death. And I could see the kids in Lincoln were bored to death. And I was like, kids need a place to go. And so I got to work. I sat down one night and I worked for this humongous nonprofit agency and I had like a career job. This is like when a teacher lands at their dream high school with their dream job and a dream coaching position and like everything is going well, like that's literally the job I had. Huge organization. And I was like, it's just not there. Like it's close, but it's not there. So I was like, we need to open up a place where kids could go. So I sat down one night and I wrote up 2 documents. I wrote up this massive business plan for this youth center, this place where like kids could skate and do music and art. We could be open late and help at-risk teenagers. They were the kids I was already working with. They just didn't have anywhere to go. So I was like, this agency is going to be awesome. So I wrote up this document for that. And then the next document I wrote up was my letter of resignation. And I was so serious about this idea. I was like, I'm doing this like youth place. And if this organization says no, I'm quitting and doing it myself. And I did this. And the reason I took that mentality is because of this. Sometimes you have to quit a really good thing to go do your thing. Like some of you are doing a lot of really good things right now, but it's not going to be your thing. It's not going to be your career. It's not going to be your passion. There are some teachers watching this. This whole Zoom experience, this whole last year has really opened your eyes up to maybe teaching's not your passion anymore. Maybe teaching is your passion even more. And it's ignited a whole new you because you have to teach creatively. What I'm telling you is sometimes in this world, you have to quit a really good thing, like your job or like some relationships, to go find a better thing, to go find a great thing. And I knew that I wanted to create this place. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creative kid out there, if you're a person who's not going to follow the traditional path and you're trying to figure out what you're passionate about, number one question I get from kids, and I'm sure I'm going to get this at the end of this, is, Mike, how do you know what you're passionate about? How do you chase what you're passionate about? Here's the best example I can give for you is the thing that you love is probably some sort of a problem you're trying to solve. For me, it was, I want to give kids a place to go, something that they can do. For a lot of artists and creators, it's like, I want to make my music. I want to, I want to skate. I want to be an NFL player. I want to be an athlete, an actress, or whatever. Like we all have these jobs and these ideas that we want. But for me, I just wanted to help people and create this space. And that was honestly what I cared about. And I didn't really care what other people thought or whatever. I was just like, this is the problem I want to solve. And it was interesting. The minute I like identified this youth place as the problem I want to solve, I started becoming unsatisfied with all the other things around me. And I'm sure some of you adults can feel this. Like you had this experience, you worked in this place and you love it and you want to be there. Maybe it was like this coaching job or this teaching job or this, you were the band director and you love this group of kids. And then all of a sudden the other work starts to become unsatisfying. And that's what happened to me. And I was like, I have to open this place. So I write up this document, call this meeting, my boss's boss. I had to borrow a polo from my homie just so I could like dress up for this meeting. I roll into this meeting and my boss takes 20 minutes listening to me. He raises his hand and he's like, Mike, we love you, but we don't love this idea. We're not going to do it. And I was like, cool. So I just literally grabbed my idea off the table, flicked out my letter of resignation. And I was like, then I quit. I was like, I care about this so much. I was like, I'm going to open up my own place. And I got to work and I'm going to show you this real quick. Let me do a little screen share action. I opened up what was at the time, this was the world's first ever, let me see if it's all this was the world's first ever nonprofit indoor skate park. And I put this place in a mall. What you're looking at right now was literally in between a Sears and a Radio Shack. This is abandoned lumber that we had gotten from a barn that we had torn down and just ripped apart with our friends. I signed a lease at the mall that said I would agree to paint every inch of this place, but I didn't even read the lease because who actually reads that? I just like signed it. And so I had to paint every inch of this place, but I couldn't afford paint to cover this place up. So I literally hit up every kid. There's Baby Mike a decade ago. I hit up every kid I knew who had gotten in trouble for doing graffiti illegally. And I was like, yo, if you need community service hours, like I got a huge space. Like I need you to tag this. I need you to like come help me paint this place. And we opened this place up. And I want to be so honest when I say this. And this is like, my friends always get so bummed when I say this. But the truth is like, I know this footage looks cool. And I know that this is like a cool thing. But the truth is my first skate park, I don't want to say that it like sucked, but it was not very good. And I mean like the ramps themselves and the flow and like what I built was not phenomenal. But here's the difference between what I built and most people. Most people's ideas, most people's passion, most people's, you know what I want to do, lives in their head for their entire life. They never take it off the shelf and they never go do anything with it. The difference between my skate park and almost everybody else I know's idea was I actually did mine. I didn't wish it would happen. I didn't talk about it happening. I actually went out and did the thing and I opened my doors. And here's the thing I want to say to a lot of you young people as you get started, and I'm sure this is happening at home, especially with you juniors and seniors. Not everybody is going to believe in your idea, and that's okay. Leaders understand this. Not everybody loved my skate park. My dad didn't even understand why I was doing this skate park. It was crazy to me. The thing that was the most shocking was the amount of skateboarders who hated on my idea. The people that I was trying to help were upset and envious or bitter or whatever that I'd opened a park, and I caught so much animosity. Like you all know that like there's trolls on the internet. Like we get that. Like, there's just a lot of old people who should just have their Facebook privileges revoked because they got nothing else to do but sit around and type. We've all met those people. Some of us have those parents. Some of us are those people. I expected trolls. I didn't expect the people in my circle, the people in my bloodline, the people that skated to hate on what I was doing. And that was so difficult for me early on. And so I say that telling you that if you want to create something for yourself, if you want to do something on your own, you've got to be the loudest voice in your own head, and you've got to learn how to drown out haters. There are so many of you who you have these fake arguments when you're driving to school with someone you don't like. You have these fake arguments in the shower with your parents or with your frenemies or with your ex-friend that something happened with that you don't like. And you're just having all these fake conversations in your head, and it's so toxic, and it's the opposite of forward momentum. That's being stuck in the present or stuck in the past. And it happened to me. It happened to me early. And it was like an internal boxing match in my brain. And it took me a couple years to realize the people who are hating on you, there's some truth to what they're saying, but you got to keep moving. And so I kept moving forward, and I just kept chipping away at it. And a couple years of being in that space, we were able to move out of there, and we were able to open up. And I'm going to share this real quick. We were able to open up, and this is where I'm sitting at now. I'm currently inside this location, but we were able to open up what is now one of the biggest youth facilities, one of the biggest nonprofit facilities of its kind in the world. This space that I'm going to show you, this warehouse, is literally the size of a Walmart. That's my warehouse I'm currently sitting in right now. This is an almost 30,000 square foot youth center. It's a skate park, coffee shop, concert venue. This place is open until midnight on Fridays and Saturday nights. It's home to young kids who are diverse, who want to have a career in skate filming or photography, or want to be a part of this youth space. And this place, like 2 weeks before COVID, I'll tell you this story so you can kind of see the energy, because that's where some of this footage comes from. Like 2 weeks before coronavirus, so this was like late February or whatever. We have two venues in our space, and the skate park's right on the other side of that wall is a huge venue. And there was this like Friday night that happened, and it was the most perfect example of what a youth center is. It was like Friday night rolls around, and I walk into the skate park, and like the skate park is it's like hundreds of kids skating. The lobby overflowing with kids. The venue, it was like a hip hop hardcore showcase. So you got like hip hop show, then hardcore show. So it's like crazy circle pit. Then it's like kids in there just like going off. It was just this nuts thing. And I walked in, and it was like, I felt like I was like, we're 200 kids easy past fire code. I don't even know who I was looking around at my 19-year-old staff. They were by far the oldest people in the room. It was pure chaos. It was exactly what I had hoped for. It was a youth center packed with teenagers. Substance wasn't there. Kids weren't doing anything wrong. Nobody was getting hurt. And there were literally hundreds of teenagers inside of this facility at 11:30 on a Friday night. And I was like, this right here is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the kid first, kid run, kid enjoyed place. And I was like, this is what we wanted. And it was incredible. COVID hit, and things obviously pivoted, and I can get to that in a little bit. But one of the coolest things I want to tell you about that happened inside this place was, if you're watching this, you might be like, that's cool, but like, I'm not a skater, I'm not a musician, I'm not an artist, I'm not any of those things. Like, that's totally fine. Like, a lot of the kids that come to our space weren't either, and they grew into that. But the thing that I want to share is skateboarding typically tends to get a bad rap and a bad vibe. And I was noticing that earlier, where people would come up to me and be like, I don't know why you're encouraging these kids to skate. Like, why don't you encourage him to play football? And I'd be like, I don't know, bro, because he's like 5'1", 101 pounds. Like, he might die playing football. I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, this kid ain't playing football. Like, he can't play football. Like, he needs to do something else. So I was like trying to find these things. And what I realized is that, when you're trying to do something different like that, and you're a skateboarder, people don't always just trust the reputation of skating. So I was like, all right, I need to show how awesome our skate kids are. I don't need to be out there being like, skaters are good. I was like, you don't need to talk it. You just need to do it. So what I did is I just started skating around, giving socks and beanies and bottles of water to the homeless, because I was doing it anyway. But I invited young people to come. And what happened was, kids started showing up, and it went from a couple kids to a couple more to a couple more. And eventually this crazy experience of Skate for Change started, where we literally just started skating up and down the streets. And it was like, from the skate crew would show up to like my volunteers would show up to middle school kids would come and skate with me. This little dude you're about to see right here, this kid's like 5 years old the day that I went under the bridge with little Johnny to skate. And these kids are filling their backpacks full of bottles of water and socks and beanies. And we're filling Ziploc bags full of hand sanitizer or hand warmers or bus passes or whatever we could get our hands on to give to the people in our community that we knew needed it. And we just started to skate, and we didn't overcomplicate it. One kid once screamed out something like, we're skating for change. And so we just started calling it Skate for Change. And the crazy part was, Skate for Change, because we just put it on Instagram, it went from like me skating around in Nebraska to like people in Seattle to Venice Beach to like Las Vegas to New York to Florida to all of a sudden San Francisco. And then it's like Germany and in Asia and Australia and all these other countries and all these other places. And people just started skating around, giving back to the homeless. And it exploded into this thing where we've got hundreds of chapters and, you know, literally like millions of socks donated. On the other side of this wall in the skate park, I've got 15,000 pairs of socks that a company donated to us for the month of October. And we call it Socktober. And we use this month to raise as many socks as we can right before the winter time. And if you're small town Kansas and you're not sure how you can make a difference or how you can give back, so many people are going to experience homelessness this winter, so many more than last winter. And what that means is the need for socks, the need for hand warmers, the need for those items in places like Kansas City or Topeka or Tulsa are going to be very real, because you're going to have a lot of people on the streets experiencing homelessness this winter. And so we have rallied hard this winter, and we're just trying to raise as many pairs of socks as we can. And we call it Socktober, and schools are doing sock drives all over the country. I have businesses that are doing sock drives as an organization because they want to make a difference. And I don't want socks. I don't need you to ship me socks in Lincoln. I got 15,000 of them sitting behind these TVs right here. I need kids all around the world to look at the homelessness in their communities and think, how can I help in my town? How can I make a difference in my state? And so Kansas, I know we got 3 schools here, and he said this wasn't about competition, but I know everybody loves to compete. I know everybody loves to compete. That's what small towns are all about. It's all about competing. So here's a contest: is which one of you schools can raise the most socks per capita? Like, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see how many socks we can come up with. And these tiny little schools always show out. I'm telling you, I challenge big schools. They do well because they got a lot of kids, but these little schools, they always show up and show out, because these are what small communities are about. We show up for each other. And so Kansas, I'm challenging you. How many pairs of socks can you raise? And not for me, it's for Kansas. It's for your homeless shelters. It's for Topeka. It's for Wichita. It's for KC. It's like, that's what these people need. And so our kids started this. And you know how cool that is when you're like the old dude, and I didn't even take a backpack anymore. I just show up and skate with these kids, and they started to learn homeless people's names, homeless people's stories, homeless people's circumstances and situations. One of our kids was like, the day before Thanksgiving was really nice a few years ago. And he was like, what are we going to do? These guys under the bridge aren't going to have Thanksgiving. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? And he was like, let's have Thanksgiving. And so this kid rallied everybody and was like, I need turkeys, I need stuffing, I need this, I need that. He went down back that night and was like, hey, we're doing Thanksgiving tomorrow. Let everybody know. And we had the first ever what was Thanksgiving under a bridge, and it's evolved now into what we call Baysgiving. And we literally have, this place is packed wall to wall with people who are experiencing homelessness, people who are in the foster care system. It's not a, we're on one side of the table scooping you food and you get to eat. Absolutely not. That's not the way we do things here. This is Nebraska. We're all family, baby. Everybody sits down at a table. There's a turkey at every table. There's family style dinner at every table. This isn't a come and get your mission line of beans scooped on your plate. No way. Like, this is all about family. And that's the way we've done it. We've done it that way for 8 years now. And I tell you these things because the coolest part is most of this stuff was not my idea. This was teenagers coming to me like, Mike, I care about this person and I want to do something. And I tell you that because I think most of the best ideas come from youth. You know, we have a big saying on our walls here. We always talk about the misfits, but it comes from this phrase that says, the future belongs to the misfits. And I want you to think about that. The people who are willing to, you know, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break a couple eggs. Like, if you want to go and create a masterpiece, sometimes you have to be misunderstood for a while. And it was awesome to me to watch these kids care so passionately about getting socks, or care so passionately about throwing a Thanksgiving Day meal for someone under the bridge. It felt like my responsibility to throw gas on that fire that they had and try to help these kids as much as I could. And I tell you that because you never know, young people watching this. You never know which adults on the other end of this Zoom call are going to back up your idea and believe in it. But they want to see energy from young people. They want to see a plan. They want to see follow through. They want to see character. They want to see commitment more than just like, hey, we should do this, and then you never show up again. Our Skate for Change kids have been doing Skate for Change for almost a decade. And I don't get hit up about, can you put this on my resume? Can I use this for my college application? No way. That's not why our kids do Skate for Change. Our kids do Skate for Change because they love to skate and they love to help people. And that's what they care about. And so I challenge you, young people watching this, if you have a passion, even in a small town with no stoplight, it doesn't mean you can't start chipping away at it and grow into your greatness. My first skate park was garbage. My last skate park, pristine. You grow into it. The first thing I built, terrible. I tore that thing apart in 6 months and rebuilt it because I was embarrassed by it because it wasn't good. Don't fall in love with your first idea. A lot of times your first idea is not your best idea, but you have to chip away at it. Any coach knows that underclassman who's raw potential and talent, but you can't go throw them in the varsity game yet. You got to go let them get crushed in the JV game a couple times to learn those skills and know what it feels like. Life isn't that different, fam. It's really not. I needed to grow into my greatness, and it took 10 years. Our 10-year anniversary is November 4th of 2020. We will literally be open for a decade in a couple weeks here. And I seriously just now feel like I know what I'm doing. It's taken me 10 years to even feel like I'm confident in what we're doing down here, because it's a lot of work and it's really hard. But it doesn't mean that you're afraid of it. It just means you chip away at it a little bit at a time. It's just like school. Like your sophomore year feels like purgatory because you're not new and the end is forever away. And that's what running a business has felt like. You just chip away, you chip away, and you chip away. But then COVID hit. I want to make sure we're doing good on time. All right, I got a couple minutes. I'll kind of tell you how we pivoted in COVID, and then I'd love to take any questions we got. But coronavirus hit just like it did for all of you, and we had to pivot. Everyone did. We have a huge space that's typically packed. You saw that video. I mean, we got 200 kids showing up to shows sometimes, and so we knew we needed to pivot, and we weren't scared. Our core values down here are things like make it fun, dream differently, people over policy, solutions not problems, celebrate others, honor relationships. Those are our 6 core values. If you think about your school's core values, you always see things like integrity and character and community. It's all these words that kids never say in their natural conversation. And when a problem comes up, we don't look at our core values on a wall typically and try to decide how to solve them. That's not what typically happens in academia. But for us, when the pandemic hit, we looked straight at our core values. And I was like, what we do next is dream different. We focus on people. We find solutions. We celebrate other people. We honor relationships, and we make it fun. That's what we do here. I know school has got shut down, but when we get shut down, we're Captain Fun out here. When we lost fun, I was like, that's not happening. So we instantly, it was like 3 days. It seriously took us 3 days. We flipped everything we were doing in real life online on Flipgrid. And we started making like skate video challenges, and all these kids were in their garages, and we were like, all right, here's how you do a hippie jump. You set like a broomstick out on 2 bricks, you let your skateboard roll under it, and you jump over it and land back on your skateboard. We were like, it's the hippie jump challenge. Send us your videos back in. So we started getting videos of like kids jumping over their neighbors, and their neighbors, it looked like I felt like we had like the intro to like a TikTok hype video going down. These kids were sending us these crazy videos and crazy stories, and kids are beat making, all across the city, and kids are making, drumming and playing piano. And because coronavirus hit, all of a sudden you used to only be able to program with us if you could physically get here. But because COVID hit and we moved online, now I should show you this graphic. Now we literally have kids skating all across the state of Nebraska, both time zones, literally north, south, east, west. We drove skateboards 8 hours to towns with like 60 people in it because their after school kids are skating with our staff. I'm driving and dropping off stacks and stacks of skateboards, and our staff are driving all over to give boards and to do beat making classes with kids in these towns the size of yours, because the internet gave us an opportunity. So we're seriously helping more kids now probably than we ever have before. We're relating and connecting with more kids now than we ever did before, because we weren't scared of the internet. We weren't scared of this moment. We looked at it as an opportunity to dream different, make it fun, and focus on people. And that's exactly what we did. And it's been so rad to see these kids just have these moments at home with their daughters or whatever, and they're just excited, and it's like these fun kid moments. Some of my favorite stuff is like, some kid lands a skate trick they've been trying for hours, and you can hear mom on the other end of the phone like, yes, and like celebrating that moment with their kid. And like one of the coolest things that we did was we built a huge half pipe on a trailer that we could literally just hook up to a truck. And so imagine this, like a kid sends us a really cool video, and the way that we celebrate that kid was we drop off a 20-foot long, 12-foot wide ramp that literally sits in your driveway, and you get to skate it socially distanced with your neighbors and your friends. These kids are like waiting in their driveway for hours, like freaking out, and you can see this ramp pull up, and they come up and they're like, this is the best day of my life. Moms are like, he won't come in to eat. He asked if he could sleep on the ramp. It's like, can you come do skate lessons with kids over here? Like we gave kids these moments back. And I think that I want to emphasize that word really quickly. At the Bay, people always ask what our measure of success is. And to all you teachers out there and all you admin watching this, and to all you, we have parents as well, you always wonder what the measure of success is when you're an adult working with young people. And so what we created was this system called significant moments of impact. And we decided that every staff, every program, every person, I would say if you're a coach right now, listen to this, if you're a band director, if you're a teacher, if you're a manager of any type of person, hear me when I talk about significant moments of impact. And I would say, what moments are you trying to create on the court, on the field, in your classroom? What are your significant moments of impact? And can you train for those? Can you track those? Can you plan for those? Can you schedule those? Can you embrace those? And that's what we did down here. We decided the moments we wanted were to give a kid joy, to be the first time a kid did something and celebrate it well. We wanted to surround kids with social and emotional experiences where they could cry, they could get frustrated, they could get mad, they could learn, they could fail, they could try, they could, have other opportunities. And for us, it's all about moments. It's moments about restorative justice. It's moments about investing in their futures and upward mobility. And we just decided, what are the moments we care about? And I would challenge you to think about that. COVID absolutely took something from all of us. Every one of you watching this lost something. You lost a moment, you lost an event, maybe you lost a person. I hope not, but we all lost something from this coronavirus thing. But it also gave us an opportunity to look at everything, including ourselves, differently and reevaluate what we care about. And so what I want to challenge all of you young people watching this is, what moments do you care about right now? Not what moments can't you wait to get back to when this thing's over with, but like right now in your town, in the place that you live, you have an opportunity to make a difference, whether that's socks, whether that's scooping the driveway of the old lady up the street who can't shovel her own snow, whether that's, waking up every morning and sending 3 text messages to people that just start your day with gratitude. Like, I don't care what your moments are. They just need to be significant. And what I would say is, don't let this school year just float by in a basement with your laptop or your video off, or, coming in and out of school socially distanced because you don't care anymore and you kind of have lost your energy and momentum. Seniors, don't phone it in. Don't let senioritis hit yet. Like, you have a chance to create significant moments in the most influential school year, probably of our entire lifetime. They're going to look back at you seniors and be like, how do they adapt? How do they adjust? What things did our seniors do this year to make a difference or make an impact? And so to you upperclassmen, to you leaders, especially to you juniors and seniors, I just want to challenge you. Don't think about what you lost. Think about what you can give. Think about who you can help. Think about the impact you can make, because that is what leaders do. That is what leadership is. They're willing to stand there, even though the world around them might be crashing, even though the things that they care about might be lost. You have to stand there as a leader and take some of that while you help other people. And I've experienced that as this world crashed around me. I couldn't panic. I had to stay positive, and I had to move our entire organization forward. And for some of you, maybe it just means moving yourself forward. Maybe it just means little things, getting out of bed a little earlier tomorrow, not wearing pajamas the whole day, being a little bit more patient with your teachers, as the Zoom thing's not easy on anybody, and being a little more kind, a little more grateful. Like, we all have these moments that we can plan and account for. But I would just say, like, what are your moments and what are you trying to accomplish? And so I know we got like 10 minutes for Q&A. Is that cool? Is 10 good for Q&A? Brian, are we cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Awesome. Hopefully there's questions. Hopefully it's not just crickets in there, but somebody had some questions.
Because this could be like that awkward junior high dance where we just sit there and stare at each other.
Oh, totally. You and I would talk at least. I know that.
We would. So teachers in all districts, if you have a question at this point, just enter it in the chat box, and I'll do my best to relay some of those over. If we get a lot of them, then we're just going to have to kind of select a few. But we would like to take a few minutes for kids to be able to ask questions specifically.
For sure.
And I'm just going to say, while we're waiting on a question to come in, dude, you just said so rad. I haven't heard somebody say so rad in so long, but I thought that was cool.
I'll take it. Have you seen the new like video remix of Rad? Have you seen like the movie Rad? Like, they remastered it and put new color to it, like the bike movie Rad?
No, I don't watch movies. I'm a boring guy. I listen to talk radio. So
I get that. I do not think Rad is on talk radio. I don't think that's out there.
But I will say the debate last night was rad. So, hey, we got a couple questions that just came in. How did you become so inspirational?
Well, thank you for that. That was a really nice compliment. I don't think I'm shooting or have ever thought about like inspirational. I think what I'm shooting for is it's possible. Let me just say that. Like, I want to show you that it's possible. It's possible to not like crush it academically. It's possible to not come from a wealthy home. It's possible to not have it all figured out when you graduate high school and still do what you care about. Like, it is possible. And so if anything I said was inspirational, I hope maybe it was more just like relatable. And you were like, I see myself in that. And I don't want to be inspiring. I think I just want to show people like, you can be a regular dude. There are 40,000 Mike Smiths in the United States of America. I am the most regular, normal dude of all time. And you can still do things that you care about and you love and people appreciate. And so I guess I'm not shooting for inspiring, maybe just more like relatable and it's possible,
Awesome. Good. Okay. So I have to say this because the challenge just got thrown down by Neota Shea, a direct challenge to Fredonia to collect socks for the homeless. So we're not going to leave out Altoona. We're going to keep Altoona in there and say, we'll take that challenge and we will ensure you that you experience another defeat, Neodesha.
There's nothing more than small town rivalry that I get amped on. For real. I had to speak at my rival high school a couple years ago, and I didn't tell the principal what my intro was. I just handed it to him before I went up, and it was just I made him just troll himself during my intro, and it was all small town garbage from when I was in high school. So get at it. I can't wait to see the battle. I'm here for it.
All right. Got a couple other questions that came in. Aiden wants to know how long it took and how expensive was it to build the mobile ramp?
So the mobile ramp, the most expensive part of the mobile ramp was the trailer itself. That's always like that costs the most, and it's you got to insure it because kids skate on it and register it and all that stuff. But the lumber wasn't bad, man. Honestly, like if you have a small flatbed trailer, you can build a 2.5 foot or 3 foot mini ramp with a decent amount of flat bottom on the bottom of it. But I would say if you wanted to build a mobile mini ramp, I would budget a couple grand on lumber, screws, wood, coping, skate light, masonite. Depends on what you want to put for a surface, but we were a couple grand with the trailer. I think that was like $1,200, and then the materials themselves was probably another couple $1,000. But ours is humongous, and so that's what I would say. And so, yeah, I would say a couple grand, dude, is where I would go with, But you don't need a mobile mini ramp. I mean, a mobile mini ramp's dope, but like maybe you just need a ramp, and that's only a couple $100 probably.
Cool. Okay. I'll just remind teachers, please make sure your mic is muted. We're seeing some people pop up on the screen that might be making some noise. My kids want to know, this comes from Mrs. Gonzalez in the Neodesha. My kids want to know if you have Snapchat.
If you, I really did have Snapchat. It's the Harbor TV. And I'm not sure, Brian, if you guys are familiar with the Harbor or what that is or what that series is, but yeah, the Harbor TV is what that one's called.
Yeah, we are pretty familiar
the Harbor
with
TV.
Yeah,
cool.
I think all three schools actually use some of the videos from the Harbor in their social emotional curriculum. So from Mrs. Millar, the new Mrs. Millar, what positive changes do you think will come from COVID?
What positive changes do I think are coming from COVID?
Yes.
Well, I think you have to kind of like, it's almost like what's the lemonade in it? You know what I mean? Like a little bit. But to me, some of the positive changes has been, and I'm sure the IT departments at your schools are going to appreciate this, but there's been a bigger emphasis nationwide on education and technology coming closer together. Like the education gap in America is massive, especially in urban areas and in small farm areas. Getting internet to some of these places, getting devices to some of these places, like those are massive challenges. And if you have a technology and an internet deficiency, you have an opportunity deficiency. And so a lot of these kids aren't getting the same opportunity because they can't learn at the same clip. And that was very real. And we've been working so hard down here to close the digital divide. Then COVID happened, and it was like every kid got an iPad. Our internet company here in Lincoln was like, every low-income neighborhood is just going to get Wi-Fi, and we'll figure it out. And so, like, in some ways, the access to the internet and the access to education for our urban kids and for some of the rural kids as well grew, which is a good thing. And that's an important thing because it's going to open up more opportunities for kids who maybe they can't drive, maybe they live an hour away from school and they can't make it to all the after-school activities, and they don't have good, bandwidth at their home, and now they're getting there. It's an opportunity to get there. And so I think the internet is scaling and technology is scaling in schools, and that's been good. But if you know me, I wrote a book literally called Legacy versus Likes, and I am a huge believer. Brian, I'm with you, dude. I haven't watched the series, hardly any movies at all since this whole coronavirus thing broke down because we're spending so much time in front of a screen, and I don't love spending time in front of a screen. And so I'm glad that the digital divide is going away, but I also know that it's calling for more screen time, which can be dangerous, which can be habitual, which can lead to other issues. And so it's a double-edged sword, but I have seen a lot of our urban kids have access to the internet, specifically like getting iPads and technology, and that for them academically has been a really awesome thing. And so I would say that's the kind of the silver lining I've seen.
Great. Charlotte from Fredonia wants to know, are you still in contact with the kid you originally became friends with? And I'm assuming she's saying in high school.
Yeah, I forgot to mention this, and that is totally my bad. But like 7 years ago now, my wife and I actually adopted him, and he moved in with us, and he's lived with us ever since. And he's been a part of my family. And so he's actually lived at my house. His home life was not phenomenal, and Lincoln had more resources. And so, yeah, 6 years ago, he moved into my house and became my, like, I don't know, buddy, brother, dude that was here. He volunteers here. We have he's working very high level with our special needs kids who work. There's a special needs class that goes to school here 181 days a year. It's called the Independence Academy. It's for 18 to 20-year-old adults who are somewhere in that's the spectrum. And he has worked phenomenally with them down here. And so he is like a legend down here, and he also lives with us. And so, yeah, not only am I still in contact with him, but he's like family actually. So.
Okay, great. Dean Schinkel wants to know how many years you've been donating socks.
We started Skate for Change probably in 2010, like the same year I opened up the skate park. So we're coming on 10 years. I think maybe our official nonprofit, like when that became an organization, would probably be 9 years. But my first sock experience I've been donating socks for 20 years. If you want to go back to like almost 20, like college, college days, almost 20 now. And so 2 decades worth of sock giving, but as an organization, Skate for Change, that's only 10 of that. My friends used to get so mad, dude. I would like legitimately steal socks out of your dresser drawer if I like, just depended on who you were in my world. Like if you were my roommate and we hooped together, I'd probably be like, you'll get over it. Like we'll bang it out in practice. We'll figure that out in practice how mad you actually are. But like I need them socks, bro.
There you go. So I think this is a really good question because I think it's something that we all deal with. Even our people that think they're really tough and have it all together. How do you deal with self-doubt when you're looking at stuff? I'm sure you deal with it like all of us do. You just get in a period where there's that self-doubt that's going on. How do you deal with that?
The things and the people in your life, and if you're a teacher, this is a big one to write down because I think this would be a cool follow-up kind of assignment. But the things, the stuff in your life and the people are there, and they're going to fill 4 roles. I truly think this. They're going to fill 4 roles. They're either going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide to your life. The people in your life are going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, and the stuff in your life is going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And you choose, for the most part, what kind of people you put in your life. And so when I have self-doubt, when I'm struggling, when I'm not doing well, what we naturally want to do is isolate ourselves, be alone, be quiet, and dark ourselves off from everybody else. That's the exact opposite that anybody would tell you to do. They would tell you to go talk to somebody if you're struggling. They would tell you to have conversations with people. So the people that I have in my life are phenomenal. I cut out toxic people. I do. I don't have toxic relationships. I don't have group chats where people are making fun of each other. No one's blowing up my DMs on social, screenshotting negative things that someone else wrote or put up. Like there's zero of that in my world. There's no gossip. There's no toxicity. There's none of that. Because when I start to doubt myself, when I start to struggle, I don't want negativity in my world. People in my life are going to add or they're going to multiply. I don't have people in my life who are going to subtract or who are going to be divisive or divide. I do not. And I'm telling you this divide one, pay attention to the words that come out of people's mouths because that's what you take in. Your input, this is crazy to me that people just don't understand this. If you eat sugary crap and garbage all day long and then you're out there working out, like is your body and are your muscles going to respond well? No, they are not. They might when you're 18 because you're 18, but when you get past 35 and you start doing that crap, where you think dad bod comes from, y'all? Like what you put in directly impacts your physicalness, what you put out. So think about your timeline. What you put on your timeline, the negativity, the toxicness on your timeline, that's going in your brain and that's coming out your mouth and that's living in your heart and that's sitting in your head. The toxicness from your friends around you is no different. What is your timeline? Is it negative? Is it divisive? What are the conversations you're having on the phone, when you Snapchat, when you're texting people? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. But here's the spin. Which one of those 4 things are you? Like actually, are you the person who's adding to people's life? Are you the person who's dividing people's lives? Are you the people who's subtracting people's lives? Are you the person who's multiplying? Are you that force of positivity? Or are you that beam of negativity happening in your schools? We can all feel it. You're either an energy vampire sucking energy out of a room, or you're filling that place up with whatever you've got. And you don't have to be charismatic and loud like people like me. That's not actually where impact is felt. Impact is felt with the quiet ones who come out of nowhere and say kind things in their own way. And so I would answer that question about mental health and staying positive with, it's actually all about what you take in and who's around you. And so if you're feeling negative, start eating healthy, start going to bed at a better time, force yourself to get out of bed an hour earlier to go on a walk and go work out. Winter is coming, as we say in the Midwest. Like winter's coming for all of us. So we're going to get stuck indoors for a little bit more. So it's never been more important for you to like do some crunches, eat some apples, do some push-ups, knock out 10 burpees in the morning and 10 burpees at night just to get your heart rate moving. A lot of you are sitting on your butts all day long at school or in front of a computer, and that's not good for your mental state. And so if you're struggling right now, if you're not doing well right now, look at the people around you and listen to what they say. And if it's negative, like, make some changes, make some adjustments.
Sorry, that actually answered, I think, several questions, because we had some about anxiety and, when you're just getting down and stuff. So I think that answered several of those questions there.
Cool.
I'm getting some other requests, like, and maybe it's just easier if you talk about your social media stuff altogether, because now I'm being asked what is your Instagram handle. So
Yeah,
if you can just kind of speak to that, so everybody will kind of know how they can connect with you on social media.
I can toss that in the chat, or can not everybody? It's really easy. My Instagram is Mike Smith Live. Everybody can spell those words. Those are all really easy. So Mike Smith Live and that's my Twitter, everything. But the real one, like if you're really trying to follow something awesome, the Bay _, that's our space here. So the Bay, like a BAY, not BAE, the Bay _, and then Skate for Change. You can find that one really easily. Find Your Grind is another career ed platform that I have. But the best of the best of the best social accounts that I for sure have is my dog, my husky. I have a husky, and he is the man. And I guarantee you he has more followers than most of you guys. So you should follow him back. But it's my husky Burton. He's awesome. He's really sarcastic.
Very good. I think just a couple more here, maybe. Emily wants to know if you've ever been in a position to help someone who is dealing with self-harm issues.
Yes. So down here, we have a lot of our young people who are, that's the experience that they're going through, and that's the space that they're in right now. And again, I would just say, I think when we're young and our world is really, really small, sometimes the things that we seem like the only thing that there is and the only thing that there's ever going to be. And a lot of times we don't know how to deal with that. I'm the farthest thing from a therapist, and I'm not going to sit here and do any kind of like Zoom therapy for anyone. But what I will say is that for the really dear friends in my life who have struggled with self-harm, I think a lot of it is you find yourself in isolation, and you find yourself not wanting to be around positive people. And so for anybody that's struggling with self-harm specifically, please talk to somebody, whether it's a counselor, whether it's Brian, whether it's DMing me and I can relay it to somebody else, whether it's your best friend that maybe you don't talk to, but like if you're really truly struggling with this, you need to reach out. And to the friends on the other end of that reach out, look at me. If you're on the other side of that phone and a friend reaches out to you, your job is to listen. Like a lot of times you think you've got to give advice and you think you've got to save someone's life or whatever. Most people need someone to listen to them. And so if you have a friend struggling, my challenge for you is listen. And you don't have to have all the answers. You have school counselors who have gone to school and are trained to help people with this. There are people in your community who can deal with this. If someone comes to you with a serious thing like self-harm, your job as your best friend is to leave that locked up. You don't go share that with other people. Your job is to listen. It's to listen and be a good friend and offer kindness and compassion. And so that's what I would say to anybody out there struggling with self-harm is please reach out. And if one of your friends reach out, that's an honor. If a friend of yours reaches out with something that intimate, that shows what they think about you. And so respect that and keep their privacy intact, and don't make that something public, but also really listen.
Very good, Mike. I think that's probably a great place to stop. We're not going to have a chance to get through all of them, but I'm going to give you just a minute or so. If you just kind of want to wrap this all back together and give some encouraging words to our students before we sign off with them, I'd appreciate
For sure.
it.
All right. I got two challenges. I don't leave. I feel like coach sometimes. Here's practice. Here's assignment. Here's whatever. One is I cannot wait to see who raises the most socks. Whoever wins, I need to know. I'm going to toss some love in the winning school's way. So whoever wins, like hit me back up because I'm definitely into this Socktober challenge. So that's challenge one. Is let's get after it.
Just go ahead and send that to Fredonia. We're good.
You can't let them have that, family. I know there's some schools out there that are like, not there's no way. All right. Number two is I specifically challenged you to think about your moments. And so this is a challenge for teachers, coaches, admin, parents, donors, school board members, kids, freshmen, whomever, middle schoolers. What are the moments your senior year? Like, what are those moments that you want to create? What are your significant moments of impact that you want to see happen this year? And maybe they're small. And I want to challenge you again with a few ideas. Maybe it means waking up every day for a week and texting 3 people you're grateful for, like 3 gratitude texts for a week straight. Those are your moments. Maybe it's raking that lady's yard because the leaves have all fallen and snow is coming and she's not going to be able to do it. And she probably isn't going to give you $10, but she'll give you some cookies. Go do it. Like there are so many people in your community who need help one-to-one, one-on-one, socially distant, very simple. And so I would say, think about it. Think creatively about your town, the little place you're in right now, and what are your significant moments of impact And then don't let them sit in here and don't let them sit on paper. Go out and go do those things. Yeah, that would be my challenge. Is can't wait to see who wins the sock battle, and I can't wait to see what significant moments of impact you all create this year. Even if they're little, little's awesome. Shoot for little ones. It's a good thing.
Very good, Mike. I so much appreciate this. I know our students do it. It's obviously been a struggle to get this worked out on schedules and stuff, but we finally made it happen. And I think you've just brought a great message to our kids. And we appreciate that. What we'll do at this point, we're gonna transition out of this, and let's just plan on maybe a 10:40 start time on the leadership session.
Cool.
That way you can get a little bit of a break and we can kind of transition our students where they need to be. But we'll start logging back in about 10:35 and plan on a 10:40 start time. So thank you, Neota Shea. Thank you, Altoona. Thank you, Fredonia. Go get those socks. You'll be doing that because Fredonia is going to win. We know that. And I can say this because nobody from Neota Shea can chime in because I'm about to end this before they do. So it's great to see you guys. And thanks everybody for tuning in, and have a great day.